So we're on the home stretch of the photographs I took back in 2017 when I did a little trip around Italy. This is the final stop on that tour. We've got this and then another 2 videos left, and that's basically all of them done then. This is Rome. If you've never seen the Colosseum, then I guess you wouldn't know that it's in Rome, but yeah, it's in Rome, obviously. It's one of the most famous sites in the world. Yeah, so this is a pretty cliched photograph, I would say, but I mean, you can't really go to Rome and not visit the Colosseum and not take a photograph out of it, can you? I like the fact, though, that I've managed to get a bird flying right in the middle of the image, so it makes it a little bit different. Shame about the lighting. The background is very, very bright with those white clouds, and the foreground is very, very dark because it's in shadow. That's annoying. I like the positioning of the Colosseum. Annoyingly, I've cut out a lot of the arches on the lower levels of it there, but it's quite awkward to take a photograph of the Colosseum and not cut off things when you're using a 50mm equivalent on a medium format TLR. So, yeah, this is acceptable, I would say. This one is not particularly good, is it? The sky is very dramatic. I do really, really like that. So I'm going to pretend that I meant for this to be a silhouetted image where you're not able to see an awful lot of stuff, and I was going for the sky instead, because if I say that, then it's a good photograph. This is some sort of obelisk of some kind. They're all over Rome. I don't know what this particular one is for. I don't even remember really where this is. Maybe on the Quirinale, perhaps, because I know I was walking around that general area at the time. But yeah, other than that, it's a nice silhouetted image, I guess, but you just really can't make out anything in the foreground. Unfortunately, this is just all sky. Another of the really famous sites in Rome. I'd been to Rome a few years before, and this, which is the Trevi Fountain, if you don't know, was completely empty of water. There was no water on it. It was covered in scaffolding, and my girlfriend was very, very disappointed because she'd really, really wanted to see it. So I went back there because obviously, if you're in Rome and you've seen something that looked a bit crap before, you probably want to see what it's like in all its glory. And it was very impressive. The reason I've gone for this particular angle is because even at the time of year, which I think was, this is probably around maybe November or December by this point, there was still a lot of tourists, an awful lot of tourists chucking pennies into it and just in the way taking selfies and stuff. So I had to get kind of a weird angle to be able to take a photograph without having people's heads and hands and just people in the general way, unfortunately. Put it this way, if you could see behind me, there is literally a throng of people. We're talking like hundreds and hundreds of people surrounding the whole place. And there's some very weird thing where I think there's like guys dressed up as priests where you can take photographs with the priests. I don't know if they are actual priests or not, but they have like a little thing that says like, have a selfie with us, sort of thing. But yeah, the Trevi Fountain, yeah, it's really impressive, really, really impressive. Something I know now, but I don't think I knew at the time, is the fact that this is literally the end of an aqueduct. So there's an aqueduct that takes water from like 60, 70 kilometers away, comes into the city, built obviously by the Romans, and then goes underground, and this is where it finishes. So all of this water, I assume, could be drinkable. I wouldn't drink it just in case, but I assume it possibly could be drinkable, considering that that's how the Romans got their drinking water. Another famous site of Rome, although technically it's not actually Rome. So, I mean, where I'm stood is Rome, but I mean, that in the background, that's St. Peter's, and that's technically the Vatican, which obviously is a separate country within itself, within the city. So yeah, this is the lead up to Vatican City there. I quite like this, to be perfectly honest with you. Managed to get the cathedral pretty much central. We've got a lot of leading lines going on in here. We've got repetition with those big lights leading down the centre of the street. We've got the buildings nicely parallel, pointing towards it. You got the cathedral as the main obvious central image rising up through there. The lighting seems all right. I'm surprised even the exposure seems okay on this. I'm surprised how well I did with this. Yeah, I quite like this. Let me know what you think, because I think this one's actually turned out pretty good. This is an image I'm really, really proud of. I'm pretty sure this made it into the zine that I made of the photographs that I took across this trip. This is the River Tiber, or Fiume Tevere in Italian, which is the river that flows through the middle of Rome. As you can see, I'm up on a bridge because those people are really, really small, and that river is really, really wide. I really like the colours on this. I think this is a really, really nice autumnal image. One of the things I always say about Kodak Ektar is that if you shoot it in autumn, it's very hard not to make it look really, really awesome. And I think this photograph says a lot about that. I mean, the colours on those trees, the oranges and browns, I think look fantastic. The blues look really, really nice. It's lucky it was a really nice day. Cold, but a really, really nice sunny day. I think the water looks really nice. The sky looks really nice. Even the patches of green along the sides of the river look really nice. I like the centralness of the bridge on there. I like the leading lines that you get with you follow the river through the image. You know, it sort of curves slightly to the left under the bridge, so you can like follow it with your eyes. The way that the trees do the same thing, and even the pathway on the left also does the same thing. I think there's an awful lot to like about this one. This one, not so much. This is Castello San Angelo, which is well, I mean, you can call it a castle, but it didn't start off that way. It was a giant tomb built for the Emperor Hadrian, the famous one who, ordered the building of Hadrian's Wall, taken over by the popes and whatever. I think they used it as a palace for a time, and I don't think they do anymore because I don't think it's technically in the Vatican. I think it is technically within Rome now, but don't quote me on that. It isn't too far from the Vatican itself, though, from St. Peter's. So yeah, this is it's humongous. It's absolutely huge. This doesn't do it justice. I mean, I'm very, very far away from it, and it still looks absolutely gigantic. I'm stood on the other side of a bridge that leads across the river. You just saw how wide the river was there. It's far away, that is. Shame about the amount of people by here. Like I said, even for the time of year, Rome always has thousands and thousands of tourists. It's one of the most famous places on earth, so it's pretty hard to get a picture that doesn't have people in it. These statues, I think, are really quite interesting, and it's central enough, but now I look at it, it looks a little bit diagonal to one side. I think I was holding the camera slightly off level. It's an okay shot. I probably would take this again, maybe stood back a tiny little bit more, and a little bit more level, but it's okay for what it is, I think. Not quite sure what exactly I was trying to do here. It's clearly far too dark. I'm in the shadows. The exposure's off. I'm guessing what I was trying to show is that the pathway along the side of the river with all the autumnal colours, like I said, and instead I've managed to go and take a photograph in the shadow, and you can't really see an awful lot except for this person walking their dog, and the brightness is off to the left. This is taken down next to the river. In the image I showed of the river taken from a bridge, where you can see like the very small people and the path they're walking on the side. This is one of those paths, sort of down that way. So I guess you can probably tell because I'm right next to the river itself. You can see how close I am to it. But it's a real shame that I decided to take this photograph in the dark, basically, rather than just come back later or the next day, because I was there for 2-3 days, so I could have just come back. This one is quite nice, I think. There you can see a couple of the sides. That's the Castello San Angelo there on the right-hand side. That bridge to the left is the one that I was stood on in the image, not the last one, the one before, where I was taking the photograph of the Castello. That is St. Peter's in the background there, the dome on the far left. So this, I think, is just a nice picture showing basically all the famous sites of Rome and the Vatican, in quotation marks. Again, autumnal kind of colours with the oranges and browns there of the trees on the right hand side. Shame the river is a little bit choppy, so you can't really see the reflections as nicely as you possibly could if it was a calmer kind of water on the river there. And a shame again about this sort of trees that I've got on the left hand side that are out of focus. just sort of distracting from the image. It's a shame they're there. If they weren't there, and you could see more of the bridge, maybe more of the river, then probably be a nicer image. But all in all, I'm quite happy with this. I think this one was okay. Okay, on to the final two then. Yet again, I only managed to take about 10 shots. For some reason, the bloody Yashica just not working. It does work nowadays. I have no idea how I managed to do this because it's been a very long time since I've only taken 10 shots out of a 12-shot roll through that thing, so God knows what I was doing. Not. I can kind of see what I was trying to go for here. It's obviously a thing about leading lines and the colours and the repetitiveness of the trees and all that kind of stuff. But I just don't think I've taken this very well. There's too much of that street on the left hand side, just boring cars that add nothing to this image. You can see the trees, but a lot of them block each other out, so you can't really see the repetitiveness of it. There is light shining through at the top, which is sort of adding something to the image, I guess, and glistening, and you're getting a nice bit of the colours and everything. But yeah, I think if I was stood slightly further to the right, maybe cutting off more of the left-hand side, then this probably would have worked better. It's okay. It's not the kind of photograph I would kind of display and say, hey, look what I've done. This is the kind of photograph I kind of look at and go, I can take a much better photograph nowadays. If I went back to this same scene, I'd probably frame it differently and it probably would look a bit different. Again, colours are nice though. I love Ektar. I love Ektar and the colours it manages to do with this kind of thing. And the final one is again something I've attempted to go for with the repetitiveness of the trees here and the benches. It's sort of worked. They're sort of central. It sort of repeats. Again, you can tell it's autumn because a lot of these trees are bare, or with the browns and the golds and the yellows of the leaves, both above actually still on them and on the ground below. Trouble is, there's an awful lot of other stuff that's very, very busy in this image. Left hand side is like, I wouldn't say it was a market, but this is along the river, like really near to the Vatican. The Castello San Angelo is just behind me on the right. St. Peter's is just down here. You walk for about 10 minutes, you'd literally be in Vatican City. So there's an awful lot of like tourist stuff on the left, like people selling things, as well as just the normal kind of stuff, and people selling like cigarettes and magazines and just normal newsagent kind of things. So there's an awful lot of people on the left hand side, which you can see through the trees, which is a bit distracting. Same on the right hand side, where you can see people walking by there. Plus, I mean, you can see buildings and stuff on the right hand side. It's just, I think if I'd taken this in maybe the summer or maybe the earlier part of autumn, when there was more trees, more leaves on the trees, then probably it would have been less distracting because more things would have been blocked. I mean, this entire right-hand side towards the top, you probably wouldn't have been able to see sky, all the buildings in the distance. So that probably would have worked a bit better. Again, love the colours, autumnal colours. I really, really like them. But other than that, it's okay. It's not the best.